say the best friends in life look you in the eye as they stab you in the back. So Jim, can you just move a little bit further forward, please? All the way forward. Yeah. Sit down.
Oh.
How far we go?
Just there, it's fine. Eyeline's good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. The moment that Jim has been dreading, and the moment that I've been sweating about since November, when Jimmy asked me to serve as best man here today. For those of you that don't know me, I am indeed best man. My name is John, and we're here to celebrate the wonderful occasion of the marriage of Mr. and Mrs. Gilliatt. A bit more, please. Come on. Thank you. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Jim for his really kind words, most of them anyway. And I have to agree that the bridesmaids have done a fabulous job today. You all look wonderful and really only eclipsed by Alex herself, who looks truly stunning today. I'm sure you'll all agree.
Yeah.
Ushers, the lads. Not quite as pretty as the bridesmaids, but you've scrubbed up okay and have done an adequate job today, all things considered. And what a great job our MC is doing, ladies and gentlemen. John Broughton. He was a bit nervous before today, so perhaps a round of applause and maybe JB stand up.
Yay!
No, JB, come on, stand up, mate. Sorry, couldn't resist. To the parents of the bride and groom, thank you for raising these two amazing people that we're celebrating today. None of our lives would be the same without them, and that's all thanks to you. It's been an incredible day so far, so on behalf of everyone here, thank you for your hospitality.
Yes.
Right, let's get down to business. Now, I'm lucky enough to witness the best man speech delivered by Jim in 2012. And this is both a good thing and a bad thing for me in my role today. The good news is I know exactly where to set the bar with risque stories and jokes. The bad news is that my online search for funny material was completely pointless because Jimmy nicked it all back in 2012. I also have to tread very carefully because Jimmy is returning the favour and is my best man when I marry Anya in September. Still, I do count myself incredibly lucky to stand here today as best man. Not only have I known the groom since the age of 2, but I also went to school with Alex for the best part of a decade, so, as I say, I feel incredibly honoured to stand here. Lucky and honoured, yes, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't intimidated by the prospect of addressing you all here today. There's certainly no issues when it comes to ammunition. Jim has provided much of that over the years. But the magnitude of the occasion is such that for many weeks I struggled to come up with an appropriate format. In the end, I actually decided to take inspiration from the groom himself. Probably not what you're thinking, not because my speech is going to be short and not very funny, but it is inspired by Jim's chosen occupation, the railways. So I will be taking you on a multi-stop journey, ladies and gentlemen, illustrating the character and persona of Mr. James Edward Brian Gilliatt. Naturally, we commence our journey at the beginning. Now there's a moment. Now there's a moment in everyone's life when they meet that special someone. When the stars align and you find that person you know you're going to love forever. For Jim, that moment came in 1987 when the Dodds family moved into Sandringham Drive in Louth, and he met me. From that moment, despite being significantly younger than Jim, I've been his mentor, sports coach, fashion advisor, confidant and counsellor ever since. And with all this considered, the first station on our journey has to be Louth in Lincolnshire.
Yay!
As soon as we became neighbours, Jim and I were inseparable, and together with our siblings, we shared a wonderful childhood. I loved spending time at the Gilliatt's house because his mum and dad, Julie and Ian, his sisters Tor and Holly, and his brother Joe always made you feel so at home. Part of the family, in fact. Joe especially, actually, who was always really thoughtful and careful never to leave me out. Because kindly, after beating Jimmy up, he'd always make me feel included as well by beating me up as well.
Aww.
Football football, topically, was actually a huge part of our childhood, both on and off the field. Its influence even had an effect on our fledgling fashion sense, and we both took great pride in wearing our Arsenal shirts wherever possible. For Jim, though, this wasn't enough. So one day, at the age of about 12, for reasons known only to him and Julie, he decided to crank things up a notch in his quest to emulate his favourite player. Luckily, it wasn't the drinking habits of Paul Merson, but instead, he decided to perm his hair in the style of Ray Parlour.
Oh yeah.
Surprisingly, a look that never really caught on. The mini Romford Pele and I were proud members of Louth Old Boys, and I have to say that it's great to see Jimmy's nephew Jack now wearing the colours of the mighty Old Boys. I just hope he gets more game time than his uncle did. Now, this limited game time wasn't just because he was competing for a midfield spot against me, or the 6-game ban imposed by Julie for catching him smoking a cigarette in the gardens. No, more often than not, it was to do with professional differences with our then coach, Neil Ashwood. Jimmy swapped from defender to attacker and even had a season in goal one year. And not even a shirt sponsorship from Gilliatt Rigall Smith could guarantee him a regular start. Because him and Neil were always at each other's throats. Now, Neil will be joining us later, but I did actually ask him for a few words of wisdom for Alex as she strikes an off-field partnership with Jim. This is from Neil. Not verbatim. Jimmy was a nightmare. What he lacked in pace and talent, he more than made up for in backchat, arrogance and laziness. I wish Alex all the very best of luck. My advice is to follow my lead from the Louth Old Boys days. He needs constant supervision and an arm around the shoulder at all times. For your first night as a married couple, again, do as I did. Try him in every position, and if that doesn't work, pull him off after 20 minutes. And if you like that joke, I wrote it. If you don't, speak to Neil later. He didn't say anything. As I mentioned earlier, Alex and I are at the same school, and I can say firsthand that her work was excellent. I know this because she was very generous in sharing her homework the few hundred times that I forgot. Thank you again, Alex. Jimmy went to the inferior Monksteig school. But he didn't let this hold him back. No, it was more his disdain for authority and lack of work ethic that held him back. Thankfully, though, he later joined Alex and I at the grammar school, and he managed to apply himself just in time to gain a place at university. I say university, Nottingham Polytechnic, recently renamed Nottingham-Trent. After attaining a hard-earned drinker's degree and some brilliant memories, I'd imagine, Jim, Steve, Tom Reynolds and I packed our backpacks and embarked upon a 9-month excursion around the world, which conveniently brings us on to the next stop on our journey. As a group, the groomsmen party have had the pleasure of travelling the world with Jim, notching up 18 countries along the way. Regrettably, from these locations, there are unfortunately almost 0 stories that are appropriate for this setting. However, when comparing notes on various trips, a few things do remain consistent. Number 1, despite claiming to be a project manager, he'll never, ever, ever lift a finger when it comes to organising. As I'm sure Alex can testify, his PM skills stay firmly in the office. Number 2, never give Jim the map. His now infamous quote of, "You're not travelling if you know where you're going," remains one of my favourites to this day. Number 3, never give Jim the room key because he almost always peaks too soon. And if possible, never share a room with him because his sleep time symphonies are actually quite harrowing. I'm not sure where he gets it from, Ian. In his defence, though, I must say in all seriousness, Jimmy was and still is a pleasure to travel with. His sense of adventure is something that I really admire in him, and his ability to see positivity in adversity is something quite special. After running out of money just over halfway through the planned trip, Jimmy returned to the UK, and after flirting with recruitment, where I'm told he would spend his days in the toilet hiding, clutching his mobile phone, he somehow managed to get himself onto the National Rail graduate scheme, and he finally got a taste of red brick education at Warwick Uni, where he passed with flying colours.
Hey!
This new direction required him to move to Bristol, specifically 77 Church Street, also known as the House of Trouser, which he shared with Ben Doe, which is actually the location of our next station. The House of Trouser, yes. The House of Pants, no. Whether to save money, to reduce washing loads, or for comfort, at this point in his evolution, Jimmy took the bold decision to stop wearing underpants. And to the best of my knowledge, he hasn't gone back since. So I suppose the obvious question is, Jimmy, how are you faring? Is this room temperature alright for you? Glad to know. I've got wet. I do have wet wipes if you need them. Since moving to Bristol, Jimmy's career with National Rail has flourished, and I know I speak on behalf of his entire friends and family when I say that we're incredibly proud of his achievements. It's been no surprise to me that he's forged a great career for himself, and I'm sure he'll go on to do great things within that organisation. If they could only sort out the unreliable 8:15 Putney service to Richmond, I'd probably be more sincere at this point. Ladies and gentlemen, the final destination on our journey brings us home, which conveniently is where football is heading. One of the things that I'm sure all those Lincolnshire yellow bellies in the audience look forward to is the annual Christmas get-together in the local pub. Our group is no different, and we routinely meet in the Greyhound every year. And it was there in 2014 when Jim and Alex's eyes met across the packed bar. That year, all Jim's Christmas wishes came true, and he was reacquainted with a beautiful, intelligent woman that he instantly knew was special. At the time, though, I'm not sure Alex was quite as smitten. After a few drinks, Jim can be a bit full on, shall we say. Alex even had to dismiss the advice of her brothers Fred and Eddie and her good friend Sarah Beatty, all of whom advised to stay well away. Sound advice. Nevertheless, Alex decided to ignore all sound logic and decided to see Jimmy again. One of their first dates was actually at the Halal Tandoori in Louth, and yet again Alex had to dismiss the advice of a well-informed individual, this time in the form of my mother, who I should point out has shared a bit of a love-hate relationship with Jim all my life, because I would always blame Jim for any wrongdoing ever. Anyway, we got the formalities out of the way, shared some small talk, and then my dear old mum calmly looked at Alex and shared the following. I won't do the voice. He's a wrong 'un, you know. Don't waste your time. Thankfully, though, Alex also ignored that tongue-in-cheek advice, and then from there the two went on to explore Louth, London and Bristol, and went on to form the loving relationship that led them to the altar at St Mary's Church this afternoon. Before I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you all now to fill your glasses in preparation for the final toast. One of the most important lessons that I've ever learned about friendship actually came from Jim's dad, Ian, who said something along the lines of the following. Boys, you'll meet many people in your life, but when it's all said and done, you'll be able to count your real friends on one hand. Ian, I couldn't agree more, and I feel genuinely privileged to have Jimmy as one of my best mates. Over the years, our friendship size has grown into what is now an extremely strong group. We've all travelled the world together, embarked on pre- and postgraduate degrees, worked in many different parts of the country and indeed the world. But our friendship, which is rooted by those Sandringham Drive days, remains stronger today than ever before. I know I speak on behalf of the entire group when I say, Jim, you are a cherished and much loved friend. It's been a a fantastic friend to me over the years, and I don't know how you've done it, but you found yourself an amazing woman who is prepared to spend her life with you. Alex, you look absolutely stunning today, and I've genuinely never seen Jimmy happier.
Aw.
I am incredibly excited for you both as you embark on life together as a married couple. Finally, it gives me great pleasure to ask everyone to be upstanding and raise your glasses in a toast to the bride and groom.
To the bride and groom!